Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here. And this webinar is designed for those of you who've started to sell your soaps but are struggling to make a living. So just to tell you how it will work, we've got a chat box. So please put any questions in there. And please say hi and let me know you can hear me and where you're from, because I hope this is reaching a lot of people. So during the webinar, I'm going to be talking to you about the 7 reasons most common reasons why a soap business is failing. And at the end of it, I'm going to also tell you about a program that I've been working on for months, which is designed to it's designed to really dig deep into the stuff that we're going to cover today. So please stay with me to the end if you are someone that's struggling to make money, because this program will really help you. But let's get into the presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. I'm not very techie, so you'll have to bear with me here. Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce myself to those of you that don't know me. So I'm Melinda Koss, and many of you will know me because I wrote many years ago a book called The Handmade Soap Book, which has sold hundreds of thousands of copies and certainly started a lot of people in Europe on this crazy journey. So this is my kids making I treasure this photograph. This is my kids making our very, very first batch of soap. We were living in rural Wales. I was a single mum at the time. I had very little internet. We didn't have websites and emails the way that you do. Everything was dial in at that point, I think. I was miles and miles from shops and buyers, and I started off working from home. That's me in my kitchen. That's Sharon. I had 2 pigs called Sharon and Tracy at that time, who both lived in the house with me. And this was me 18 months later. I'd built my business to a point, just 18 months, I built my business to a point where we were supplying all the UK supermarkets and prestige stores in London, like Harrods and Harvey Nicks, if any of you are familiar with those. And we were making over a ton of handmade soap a day. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I did that. But before I do, I want you to not feel intimidated by my journey. What's really, really important is that you decide where you want your business to get you and how you want to run it. Not everybody, I'm fully aware that not everybody wants to build a mega business. It just happens that I wanted to and I did. Okay. So that was my curing room at the Handmade Soap Company. And this is where I live now. So we're now a few years on, but I live in the south of France, and I've got my swimming pool and my animals around me. And this is the lifestyle that I wanted for myself. And I want you to have whatever lifestyle you want for yourself. So I'm getting close to retirement. I haven't decided when I'm going to do that yet, but it was really important for me to write down, having coached over 200 entrepreneurs on this journey, to write down all the things that I felt I wanted to pass on and make sure that you understood about building a soap business. So soap has been wonderful to me. It's taken me all around the world. I've set up 3 social enterprises in Africa. And you can do with this business whatever you choose to. You've just got to understand how to do it. And just to keep your attention, this is a link to a half-hour documentary that was done on me building my company in Wales. So if you want to have fun, I look like a lunatic on it, but anyway, that's some relaxing viewing for you at a later time, if you want to know a bit more about my work. Okay, so let's get this first elephant out the window, out the cupboard, wherever it's hiding. And that's COVID. So I know that we're living in absolutely awful times, and I know it feels like nobody's got any money and nobody's spending any money. But for a soap maker, this is absolutely the best time to start a business. So the global handmade soap sector, just the handmade soap sector, is valued at 150 million. And that has doubled since February. Okay. Um, and the other fallacy is that we believe that people are not prepared to spend more for artisan products. And in fact, now more than ever, they most definitely are, because people are focusing strongly on their health. They're having more time to consider what's good for them and what's bad for them. And the green movement and the vegan movement and the artisan handmade movement is absolutely rocking it right now. So if you believe that there's no money about and that there's no sales going on because of COVID, this is actually stopping you from selling. This is something that's going on in your head, but isn't actually doesn't actually exist in the real world. And the other thing that I want you to note, just for your reference, a very interesting statistic here is that the average price for a bar of handmade soap is $10. Okay, so just tuck that fact away for you until a little bit later on. Hey, hi, we've got some late joiners coming in. Okay, so number one, and this is a mistake that I made, and I think it's probably something that many of you have done. So what's happened here is that you've discovered soap making, you've got totally passionate about it, you're making all the varieties and shapes and sizes and colors that you can think of, you're giving it to your friends, they love it, and they think you should start a business. And tell me in the chat box if that's how you started. Now, because you are growing like this, you're starting off with hobby equipment, and you're being very reactive. So you're making the soaps that you like to make and then trying to sell them. But it's really, really important, if you want to turn this into a business, that you have an absolute clear plan. So the place to start with that is really at the end. If you're thinking to yourself, well, I would like to make this into my work, my full-time work, what you need to do first is to write down a list of all your outgoings and work out exactly what you need to earn in your first year to keep going. Once you know what you need to earn, you can work out how much soap you need to sell during your first year to get you there. And that's the time when we should gear up our workshops and buy our equipment to make absolutely sure that we can make the volume of soap that we need to make in order to earn a living. So there's absolutely no point in making little kilo batches and then having a problem selling them or getting out there on the market and selling them, only to find at the end of the year that you're struggling like mad because you're just not earning what you need. So having a clear plan is critical. And that's something that we're going to dig really deeply into in the program. Now, I said before that not everybody wants to build a mega business. Please accept that I understand that. So I wanted to tell you the story about a client that I work with called Marielle Mel. And Marielle Mel was selling soaps here in France she makes beautiful soaps, and she was selling them here in France on various markets. And she's a single mum, and she wanted to grow her business, and she just didn't know how she could do that because she also valued her time and wanted to spend time with her kids. So what I came up with for her, it turns out that she was living in a tiny village in France, but it was on a through road in the wine region. And you get a lot of tourists in the wine region. And also her living room opened up onto the street. So what we did was we turned her living room into a studio and a shop. People could come and watch her make soap and buy it directly from her. And the reason that I suggested this from Marianne was that her background was actually tourism. She'd worked in the tourism industry, and that lit up a spark for me. And Marianne approached all the tourist agencies, and she now has coach loads of people coming to watch her make soap at a time that she can specify. And because she's got a captive market, they're going away with armfuls of it. So she's built herself a very nice lifestyle business, and she doesn't even have to leave the house. So that's just one example of working out exactly what business model is right for you. Now, the second issue that a lot of soap makers have is that they're trying to serve too broad a market, and you're not clear on who your customers are and what you should be selling them. So I know it feels counterintuitive because we start this journey thinking that we want to get our soap in the hands of as many people as possible. But the fact is that you can reach, because of the internet. My God, I wish I'd have had Instagram and Facebook in the days I was running my business. But because of that, you can reach 6.2 billion people. So you can afford to be very niche. And by being niche and by setting out to serve a very specific market, you are making your customers feel special. So to give you an example of that, if you were to create a mechanic soap, on the surface of it, you might feel, yes, but how many mechanics can I reach? Well, just give it some thought about how many you could actually reach around the world. And also think about the difference between, they go out wanting to buy a soap that's going to get the oil and grease off their hands. And there's two soaps out there. One is a general soap that's for everybody, and one's a soap that's called a mechanic soap. Which one do you think they're going to buy? Okay, so getting niche is something that I'm passionate about and that I know works, and something, again, that we would work very hard on, because it's also extremely important that your niche is a group of people that you are comfortable talking with, because all your marketing messages need to talk to that person. There's a science to this. Okay, so as an example of this, I want you to meet Stevie Lomas. And Stevie is a client of mine who has a soap making business in Dubai. Now, Stevie came to me 4 or 5 years back now to learn how to make soap. I was running courses in London. And she had a very, very clear idea what she wanted to do. Dubai makes very little product. So when tourists go there, there's nothing specifically from Dubai that they can go home with. And she wanted to make a soap in Dubai that used local ingredients and that said Dubai, a gift item that said Dubai. Now, a great fun story here is that Stevie, when she set out, her husband, who was in the oil industry at the time, very kindly gave up his man shed, and she started making her soap in there. And 3 years later, Stevie won the Small Business Award for the Gulf Capital. She turned over $2 million last year, and she has retired her husband. He's now working for her. Now, how would you like to be in that situation? And also, just to illustrate what I was saying before, this is her product. Now, she does a gift product with camel's milk in it that is aimed specifically for the tourism market. So that's what I mean. You can do it with one soap. You can do it with a very small range of soaps. You don't need to be covering everybody. In fact, you're weakening your proposition if you do. So the third issue that people have is that when you're setting up a business in the beginning, you try and do everything yourself, and you think that you're going to save money by doing that. And my goodness, are you wrong? The point is, the first thing that you need to do is to look at what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Now, when I started my business, I was completely number blind. But I know that even though this business was going to be born from my passion, a passion-led business isn't a business unless you're making money at it. Business is about profit. Okay. Um, to be running about doing wrapping soaps and stirring pots and doing everything yourself is a sure way not to be able to scale your business. You cannot build a business on your own. What you need to do is delegate. You need to learn to do is delegate, and you need to get people to do all those jobs that you can farm out. And in many cases, they will do them better and quicker than you can. And they will free up time for you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that is marketing your soaps and keeping track of your business. Okay, so it's a kind of shift in mindset that I know a lot of soap makers find difficult. They often find it difficult to let go of stirring that pot. But if you want to build a proper business, you are going to have to delegate. Okay. The fourth issue people have is often that their costings are not allowing them to serve bigger markets. Now, I cannot tell you the number of soap makers that I've talked to who are not putting in cost to cover their own time. And also their costing for the internet. Their original intention is to sell just online. And then when a big customer, a big store group comes to them or finds them online and says, can you supply us? They can't, because they haven't allowed the margins in their costings to give to the store. Now, in the program, I'm going to give you a time and motion interactive spreadsheet. And I am going to, and you can do this at home yourselves anyway, but I'm going to get you to cost out absolutely every single process and ingredient and bit of packaging in your offering, and then get you to add on the margins that you need in order to get you to a trade price. We're going to allow for postage and incoming postage and commissions or handling houses, whatever. And then we're going to double that price and add sales tax to get you to your retail margin. So if you can see here, I've included the cost of labels. I've included the cost of the stock box. So you might pack each variety of soap in a box. I've included the time it takes to pack those boxes, every single detail, because those tiny details that you don't cost in when you're working out your prices are actually your profit. Okay, so this is hugely important to get to grips with your costs. Now, I've talked to a lot of soap makers whilst I was putting together this program, and I know that one major issue that they have is their production and the facility that they're working in isn't allowing them to scale up. So quite often the orders are there, but they just don't have the premises, or it doesn't feel like they can scale up where they are. Now, many soap makers start off making 1 kilo batches, and because they produce, or 2 kilo batches, and because they're producing a load of different soaps, they tend to keep their batch sizes small. And the truth is that to build this, even as a home-based business, you should plan to make your soap once a month. I can see you all screaming at me. Stop screaming there. Are you screaming at me? Tell me in the message, how often do you make your soap? The point is this: if you're making bigger batches, you have just one load of washing up to do. If you're making tiny kilo batches, you have God knows how much washing up to do. And the other point is that the equipment that you need to make big batches is actually a lot cheaper than the hobby type equipment that you're going to buy to make small batches. So for me, when I set up the handmade soap company, there wasn't anybody specializing in soap making equipment. It was unheard of. So I literally had to invent and improvise every bit of equipment that we used. So I bought, I remember initially I bought big buckets that kids stored toys in, to big plastic buckets to make the soap in. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night thinking, okay, so I've got this big bucket, but how am I going to stir it? There isn't a spoon long enough, being used to working from pots at home. And I remember thinking, I can use a canoe oar to stir the soap. I'm going out and buying a child's plastic canoe oar to stir the soap with. That was before I discovered the electric drill with the squirrel on it. But anyway, what I'm saying here is you can be really clever and improvise with your equipment, and you can make much bigger batches than you think you can. You don't have a shelf life with soap, or you have an extended shelf life with soap that allows you to make much larger batches than you're probably making. And in terms of your production facility, there are ways around that too. You can work in a garage, you can work in a barn. You can probably during this time get really low prices on a small industrial unit. So again, that's something that depends on your vision for how you want to grow, but it's something we go into in depth. But a lot of it is to do with making clever rather than working yourself to death making soap 24 hours a day. The sixth issue is that you don't have a grip on your cash flow. And again, it's really, really important that you understand the ins and outs of your money, and you plan ahead. And this gives you the most amazing confidence and the feeling that you are actually controlling your business rather than it controlling you and you waiting for the next big bill to arrive in terror. Okay, so in the program, I give you this, which you can do on a piece of paper. You don't need my spreadsheet, but this is an interactive spreadsheet. And this is about setting your vision and planning your sales for the year. So just to show you how this works. So you would put in here, if first of all, you make a list of all the places you think you would like to sell to. And that can also include online promotions or online stores, whatever. And you fill in the name of the individual retailer here in the column, and you decide when you're going to approach them. And you could assume maybe that 2 months later, they might place a firm order for your sorry, I slipped there, for your minimum, whoops, sorry, what am I doing? Hang on, let's get back. Okay, so they might place an order for your minimum quantity, and you put the value of that order in the box. So if you approach a store, if you're going to approach Nordstrom, I always think big. If you're going to approach Nordstrom in April and they're going to place a minimum order for one shop to be delivered in June, you put the value of that order in June. And you continue here and you set the plan for all the stores that you want to approach to sell your products. And you need to know how you're going to sell your products. These might also be direct consumer fairs. It might be market stores that you've got, but wherever you're going to sell, work out what you're likely to take and fill it in along here. And then flip over to the next spreadsheet and fill in under income the total of those sales for each month. And from doing that, you also fill in your outgoings down here. But doing that, you can see which months you might be short, when you might be able to afford to do a trade show, when you should do a special offer promotion. So you can plan your whole year out just like that and get control over it. And I can tell you that there is nothing more satisfying, because by the first year, it looks pretty scary. I mean, how you're thinking to yourself, how do you guess? And you're guessing by breaking this down in the way that I've described. But it can still feel scary. But by the second year, when you've got that right, there is nothing that will build your confidence more than actually having a grip on your cash flow and knowing that your projections are right. And of course, you can always go back at any time. So if a store doesn't buy, you've put in that a store's going to buy in June, and they've said to you, no, not interested now, but maybe September, then you just move the number along to September. So this is a movable feast, but it gives you a clear target to aim for. And that is hugely important, that you stay focused on your sales. And the last issue is all about your creativity. So your creativity takes priority over your business sense. And I'm a creative. I know how this feels. You've got absolutely seduced by making these gorgeous bars of soap with the swirly flowers on top and the wonderful multicolored special designs in them. But in order to scale them, how are you going to make them? So there is really no point when you're making a soap that you're going to go out there and sell, unless you're prepared to put a very high price point on it that justifies the time and work that you're putting into it. Then you need to come up with ideas that you can replicate over and over again simply. Okay. And also you need to limit your range. And you need to think in a business-like way. And it could be that you don't want to do that, that your passion is that you just love making soap. And I get that, I absolutely do. But if that's the case, then be very cautious before you go out and try and make this your full-time livelihood, because you might be better off teaching soap. And there's lots of ways that you can make money from soap without actually building a brand. This is an illustration of my own, how I use my own creativity in our very first trade show. Now, this fruit bowl here was a block of soap that I got a wood turner to turn on a lathe into a fruit bowl. And this picture here is a mosaic of an angel that I made out of tiny, weeny, cut up bits of soap. So if anybody is soap obsessed, it's me. And what I'm telling you is what I learned during the journey of that business. So I made loads of mistakes when I built that business. And I want to help you avoid those mistakes and keep you absolutely focused on the things you can do to build yourself an enjoyable business that will earn you a profit. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about my program. So the first package, the silver package, will support you while you outline your goals. It will, you'll get 7 recorded webinars, long webinars, and also extensive workbooks that will help you work out what your business should look like, where you want it to get to, and how you're going to get it there. It's going to help you define your resources, work out your production process, sort out your equipment, and make the best of what you've got. So I'm not about people going out there and spending loads of money if they haven't got it or they don't want to, but you have to know how to make the best of your money. Because if you're buying hobby equipment, I remember we outgrew in our first year, I think we outgrew our equipment every 6 weeks. And I remember also having a 12.5 kilo bar of coconut oil delivered to my house and looking at it and thinking, that's going to take me a year to use up. And then 18 months later, I was buying a ton of it a day. It's going to help you get a grip on your finances. So you'll get these spreadsheets and these planning spreadsheets from me for costing and planning. And I'm going to talk you through in detail how to do that. It's going to help you create an irresistible brand. And whichever way you look at it, this is a soap business, and this is 80% marketing and 20% product. Okay. So we really need to nail down that niche for you and get you out there. We're going to look at different models and routes to market to get to your customers. We're going to talk about loyalty plans. And overall, you're going to learn how to approach and sell purchasing managers of stores and chains, how you got to deal with them. So this is going to help you sell like a superstar. And you'll also learn about agents and distributors and middlemen and the agenda that a buyer has, and online and offline selling, and how to deliver what your customers really want from you rather than what you want to deliver. Okay. So in addition to the 6 online workshops, the package also includes extensive workbooks that I'm going to get you to work through, and of course the spreadsheets. And also there's a pack of recorded interviews that I've done. I'm opening up my little red book here, that I've done with experts and colleagues that are going to help you market successfully on Instagram. There's an Instagram course in here. Manage your time efficiency. I've got a time management coach that's going to talk to you. I have a London PR agency that specializes in the beauty business, and she's going to talk to you about how to approach PR. I've got a copywriter who's going to do a workshop with you on writing copy that for your website and for your marketing, for your social media, that's going to convert into sales for you. And I've also got the buyer of a major retail store who's going to give you the buyer's view and what she wants to see from people that present products to her. So that bundle alone is worth the price of the course, I promise you. Okay, now I'm going to put the, you'll see the website for this course flash up below. And if you'd like to go in there, and have a look at the full program. You're also, in addition to the 6 webinars, you're going to get a monthly, once a month for the 6 months, I'm going to do a classroom style Zoom brainstorm session where you can ask me questions live on there. You kind of have to ask yourself, well, can I afford to do this? And the other question is, well, can I not afford to do this? Because I'm living proof that this can be done. These are amazing times to start a business, but in order to get this right, invest in yourself and understand from someone that has been doing this for 20 years exactly what you've got to do to get yourself out of this, off the hamster wheel, and get yourself turning a good profit. I wish you all success and lots of love, and I hope that when we meet in the program, and if we don't meet in the program, then I hope we meet again when all this nasty stuff out there is over. Stay safe, everybody. Lots of love to you.